What's up, everybody? My name is Alexander Wild, and I'm here to talk to you about the ollie. I'm a relatively new skater. I just got started this year, so by no means am I claiming to be any kind of expert. However, I am the type of person that overanalyzes the crap out of everything, and I just spent the last 8 months desperately trying to wrap my mind around the ollie. Knowing what I know now, I truly believe that I would have gotten the hang of the ollie much sooner had someone just explained to me these two fundamental things. I could have saved myself so much grief and time and pain. I could have saved myself a lot of misery. When I started skateboarding, I of course joined all the new skater, beginner skater forums that I could find on Facebook and Reddit and whatnot, and I have seen countless videos of people getting footage of themselves trying to ollie so that they can get feedback for it. And I began to notice that there was a pattern emerging. Nearly every single video, every single beginner gets one or both of these two things wrong, or just doesn't really understand it because no one's explained it to them explicitly. So let's say that you are a beginner skater, you've been pushing around for a couple months, and you're really trying to figure out the ollie now. So you go on YouTube or the internet, wherever, and you look for some instructions, some tips, like how do I go about this? How does one ollie? How does one ollie? And they see a video that tells them that the steps to an ollie are a pop, a jump, and slide, in that order. And the way they're told to practice these steps is by stomping the tail and sliding their foot up the side over and over, and then just like add a jump in there somehow. This isn't exactly wrong, right? Technically, an ollie does consist of a pop, a jump, and a slide. But there's important details about how to do those things that are missing. And this leads to a lot of frustration when, you can't actually ollie even though you're trying to follow these instructions. The number one thing is thinking that the jump comes after the pop. 90% of the time, this false idea is what is sabotaging ollies everywhere. Why? Well, think about it. How are you going to get your board off the ground if you're standing on it? You can't just stomp your foot down with all your weight still on the board and expect it to come up very far. I mean, that doesn't make sense. You can actually muscle out an ollie this way, but it's going to feel rushed and it's going to be exhausting. And then you're going to go and ask other skaters for some help, and they'll just say, oh, you need to pop harder. You need to jump higher. So you try jumping with all the strength you've got in your legs and stamp on your tail as hard as you can, and still no dice. So what's the solution here? How much effort does it really take to pop a board that has no weight on it? Well, turns out not much effort at all. Just a small downward flick of an ankle is enough to catapult your board several feet off the ground. Notice how my foot never actually reaches the ground. It's just pushing the tail down and then letting it bounce off the ground. So similarly, it also takes very little energy to jump. When I try to jump with all my might, it doesn't seem to make much of a difference in my overall height. It just tires me out. I mean, look, this is the tiniest little bend in my knees. And just from there, quickly straightening my legs out and concentrating that force down into the balls of my feet and my toes, so that when I jump, I'm really just hopping up off my toes, really low effort here. So if it doesn't take much to pop and it doesn't take much to jump, how do we transfer that into the ollie? It should be just as easy to ollie. So here's the answer. First, we have to get used to the feeling of hopping straight up off of the board and feeling ourselves become weightless. Just practice extending your legs through your toes, a quick little hop as you're rolling along, just enough to do a tiny hop and feel your weight come up. You may find that your board wants to shoot in front of you or behind you. If that happens, it means that you're leaning too much in the opposite direction. Like, really try to focus on hopping straight up and keeping your board underneath you the whole time. Get good at that first. The next step is to do the same thing but with one foot on your tail, and this time as your weight comes up, give the tail a little baby tap so that the nose comes up. So the idea from here is just to slowly build up the height of your hopping and the strength of your pop until you feel your back wheels start to leave the ground. We're using the one motion and we're slowly building up in intensity so that we're comfortable every step of the way. And it's controlled, but it's relaxed, and it should be like really pretty dang low effort, you know? You can actually achieve a tiny ollie with minimal effort this way. I mean, if your back wheels leave the ground, that's technically an ollie. Now, from here, it's simply a matter of continuing to build height by lifting your legs up more, your knees up. After the pop happens, then your knees can pop up. And that leads me to my second important tip that I have for you, which is understanding how to do the slide properly. So most ollie tutorials will tell you that you need to use the side of your foot to slide up the board, which is correct, but how does one do that exactly? I mean, unless you have some weird superhuman ankle joints, it's really awkward to try and physically turn your ankle like that. That's because what you're actually supposed to do is open up that knee a little bit, point it out towards the nose of your board, and you can see how that naturally turns my foot onto its side. So it's now perpendicular to the board. And that's what you need to be practicing doing in this exercise. So start with the tiny little hops with the push from the tail, start building up, and as your foot comes, as your jumps become a little bit stronger and stronger and the nose is coming up a little steeper, you can start opening up that knee and rolling out that foot, and you will probably ollie. So not only does this open knee get the best grip on your board with your foot, but it also creates tension between your feet. And that will help to keep your feet from coming off the board too much. So your back foot is always going to be off the board for a little bit because that's what happens when you flick the tail away from it. But it should come right, if you immediately bring that knee right back up and you've got that tension going slightly outwards on the nose of your board, that's going to bring the back of the board right up into your foot like that. So without the tilt, you're going to have a lot of trouble keeping your board underneath you. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you like this video. I hope it helps. Comment below if you have anything to add or any criticisms. Be nice, please. Or if this helps you out, please let me know. Thanks so much for watching.